I know I'm not supposed to have favorites for any of the programming at this conference, but what is coming up right now is likely probably going to be my personal favorite of Design Nation 2022. It is my honor to introduce to you Annabelle Gao, a multidisciplinary artist based in Brooklyn with a BFA in Textiles from the Rhode Island School of Design, 431,000 YouTube subscribers on her channel, and her brand Pyperbleu. Annabelle has been one of my favorite YouTubers since high school. The next hour will be dedicated to her life experiences as an artist, business owner, and person in the times of social media and 21st century transformations. So now I'll let Annabelle introduce herself, if you wanted to say anything.
Okay. Hi, I'm Annabelle. I'm super excited and very nervous to be here because public speaking is like my worst nightmare, but I am very, very honored to have met Kathy and now all of you guys. I now am based out of Brooklyn, and I graduated 2 years ago, so ever since then I've been self-employed and running everything from online, like off my iPad and my laptop, and kind of networking and making some business moves this year, but I'm very like fetus in that sense. So pretty much everything that I do like day to day for how I support myself and like have income is through digital content and influencer marketing.
Yeah, so a little bit about how this session is going to go. I'll start off with some questions, and then we'll just have attendees raise their hands. We'll call on you, and then you can go to the mic and ask questions. So it should just be a really chill hour to wrap up one of the last bits of programming of Design Nation. So I can start off with the first question, which is, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling very happy and well rested, so.
Yeah, okay, great. So one of the first questions, just to kick it off, is like, how would you describe this era of your life, paving your own path after graduating from college, which I know some of our attendees will be doing soon / eventually?
Yeah. I think this period of my life, especially with everything going on in the world, has been one uncertain, but also a period of healing, because I had a lot of interesting experiences throughout school that carved me to be somebody who put work first and was just really like always thinking about the future so much that I realized I didn't really care for or like feel passionate anymore about my present life. So then I had a life-changing moment when I was speaking to one of my friends about like how to schedule my life so that it actually is freeing to me, that I can live and like model my work after something that I really believe in again. So with that said, uncertain isn't scary anymore like it used to be. I realize how malleable my work form is, especially like using social media. So it really feels like it is what I make of it, like if I can manage expectations or not. So uncertain can almost feel calming in a way, because it's like, yeah, I accept that it's uncertain, and it's no longer like something that is ruling you.
Yeah, and just following up on that, with the uncertainty and also you wearing multiple hats and juggling lots of different things, how do you currently feel about your work-life balance, or do you have any tips to share in like finding one's work-life balance?
Right. Well, when it comes to wearing multiple hats, that's like something I actually think about, because I have to wear every hat, and that's also a very conscious decision I made, because I have peers who hire assistants and have other part-time help, but then my personal opinion of like having somebody depend on me for part-time work and also their I guess income on the side of whatever else they might do is really scary for me, like having somebody affected by my choices right now. So because I don't want somebody to help me with, for example, like the shipping and handling part of my online store, I have to do all of those things. So it just means less time for things that I enjoy doing, and you just have to bite the bullet and do that. And my tip for doing some of like the admin work that's not so fun is to like kind of combine it with something that does make you happy. So for me, it's like playing music or like queuing up my favorite vloggers, and then realizing, okay, I'm going to like have this in the background, and then my goal by 12 p.m. today is to have this done. I'm going to fulfill all of these orders and then get to like the next set of paperwork, but then to take breaks in between. Yeah.
And then just jumping around a little bit, earlier we were talking about how you studied textiles at Rhode Island School of Design. And textiles, I guess personally to me, when I think about it, it doesn't have like the strongest connection with like what you're currently doing now. And I was wondering how you felt about people studying things that they don't necessarily like pursue, or like how you felt that textiles helped you in your way to like find your current path.
Yeah, I think about that all the time because it really changed my life to go to RISD for textiles, because it completely shattered the illusion of what I thought my future in fashion was going to be. And had I not gone down that path and like taken the classes and met the professors that I did, I wouldn't have realized and like have the philosophies I do and why I want to pursue my small batch business, and like I guess the intentionality behind design that I do have now, or like why I think it's so important to put things out into the world that like really I can stand behind, versus like doing it because I had this construct in my mind for what it was going to be. So even though right now what I'm doing day to day doesn't have to do a lot with what I learned in textiles, I do apply so much of what I did learn in all of those classes, such as like organizing and putting together what my professors called mood boards, but just like themes for what I'm trying to like. The themes that I'm applying to all of my collections, my forthcoming collections, I think about a lot, and also just like the surface design sense really ties in with graphic design, in my opinion, and like printmaking was kind of my area of focus in textiles. So I was never really in love with industrial knitting and weaving, which is also what I learned. But it's lying dormant right now. But in my opinion, it's never irrelevant, because it's always going to be a part of you, as well as the people that I have met, and I guess you could say the connections that you made like while I was in the program. It's something that like, even though I didn't go straight into a textiles job after RISD, I know that like my love for it is so genuine, as like just a genuine interest in fabrics, that like I don't really want to be a part of a corporation right now, maybe ever, but I do see friends in it who do enjoy, and some friends who do very much not enjoy that 9-to-5 life. The part of me that like wants to apply it later on, I just kind of feel like I want to figure out how to make it more sustainable, like being a small business owner, before I go off and, for example, contact a mill and think about, okay, my purpose right now is to make like 5,000 units of something, and like I'm a textiles designer, so that is what I want my output to be in the world. So I guess like thinking about the idea, from idea to meaning, and like how that would come to reality, like how that would live in the world as something that I design as a soft good eventually.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, I was hoping, because I don't know if it made any sense.
I think it makes sense.
Okay.
But in addition to just like textiles shaping the way that you currently think about like how your business works or how you're operating, I feel like another big source would also be social media and how you influence. So I was wondering how social media and your presence on social media throughout the past like maybe 5-6 years has influenced your art style, either like how you edit your videos, how you think you should present yourself, and just like how it shaped your path and your style. Yeah.
I think social media is a super like double-edged sword in a way, because it is really freeing to get that platform to express yourself to a bunch of strangers who like eventually feel really connected to you because they relate to you in one way or another. And like I really found that to be how I like can get all of the jobs I do now, because I like built a platform, what was it, like 6 years ago at this point, but a little bit before that, because I started trying to be like a whole YouTuber ever since freshman year of high school. So it was really like a relentless like putting myself out there as I was changing. And then when I kind of found my voice throughout college, a pitfall was I found that as soon as I had a bigger audience, it was really easy for people to simplify you into, okay, this is what you are now. You're the girl that uses yellow or like mustard tones, and this is you. And then if I were to put out something that was really off-brand, I think my immediate circle would kind of give me this reaction of like, oh, that's interesting, but why? Like, why would you want to do anything different when you're already so known for something? So I would say that social media really pressures me, and like, I feel like I haven't met a single artist who doesn't feel the need to have a cohesive look, to have this signature that they can feel really represented by and like very like a lot of ownership over. And if anything, like I'm still in this tug of war with that mindset, and I'm just really trying to let go of that because I want to believe that whatever you do and whatever you make is going to be a part of you no matter what. So to care less about the cohesiveness, because essentially that's just caring about how others see you, and you have to strike a very careful balance between caring about how others perceive you, because when you are perceived positively, then you technically get customers, and then you're more successful, and that opens other doors for you. But it can get, like myself, it can get you into a darker place where you feel completely paralyzed. Like I can't do anything, I can't make anything because it feels like that you're not controlling what you're making anymore.
Yeah, and then just switching gears a little bit, I feel like some YouTubers, especially people with a larger audience, have their own individual social media communities, like in the comment sections of videos or like on Instagram posts. And I feel like your community is one of the more cohesive, always quite supportive, as opposed to other ones that like could turn really fast or just like have yours seem a lot more like supportive in your endeavors and also in each other. How do you think like you ended up creating this sort of community, or like what kind of hopes do you have to continue? Yeah.
I think I have been seeing a lot more of like my current favorite YouTubers and bloggers have also the same sense of community and that same sense of support and like mutual kinship. And I think it's the energy that you put out you will also attract back. So because I tend to try to be my most authentic self, and I slip up, but by putting forward like this, what I call like raw side of me that might be unexpected on YouTube, and just like a new wave of like what authenticity means, I really feel like everybody has this lovable, or like a part of them that is willing and wants to be loved. And even though it has been hard to put myself out there, because there has been times where I feel a lot like very set back by a couple of hurtful comments, and they're comments that like were really targeted at like the rawest part of me that I want to put out there to connect with people. So like because I put myself out there, I think in return like 90% of everybody that has stuck with me through the years has really felt like this kind of like parasocial friendship with me. And that is the way I view like uploading on YouTube. I feel like this is a blog, but of this century. Like I'm like updating, this is my life right now, and that's the way I choose to continue that, because that kind of drives my management of like, this is what I choose to share, this is what I'm going to like lay out my video to be, and then this is what I would want to like spend my time talking about it. And like it's a little bit baffling to me how people do choose to like hear me talk about some of the most personal things or like some of the most mundane things that I really love, but like in a way that's almost what you would find most, I guess, like most endearing about spending time with those that you really care about, like hearing about their life, hearing about the most mundane things. So because of like what I put out there, I think in return, people in the comments, like people who are always supporting me, it's like that is like the key group of people that have like the interest in my life, and like the same interest that maybe in poetry and film that I like to share with them. So I'm very grateful that people are truly that kind. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I have one last question before I open it up to the audience, so maybe start thinking of a couple questions you want to ask. Mine would just be, in case some people have just met you now today, if you could choose some of the moments in your life, or like give a brief timeline of some of the more significant moments that you think have shaped you, and then what would you say is like coming next?
Okay. I think one of the biggest significant pivotal points in like my YouTube journey is when I uploaded my art portfolio video, because I had gotten into Parsons and RISD, and I was showing like the collection of work that I submitted, and then like that was like the first time I had felt like, oh wow, so much attention on the internet. And I think at that point I was 17. And then I followed that up with a little dorm move-in vlog. And that was like really when I feel like the legitimate, as deemed by society, like career was launched, because weekly people were saying like, I'm so excited to hear from you. And then that kind of shaped me in a negative way to really crave the instant gratification of like, what is the right word? Like having that positive feedback. It was like this crazy serotonin boost every week where I really shaped my life to, in a way, just work, like every day. If it wasn't to please my professors at school, like I feel like school was a big priority, and that's kind of what I fell back on. I was like, okay, no matter what happens to my YouTube channel, I'll always have school, and that's like my big priority, and I don't really know where I'm going in my career, but I still have 3 more years to figure it out. And I think throughout RISD, I had just like really shaped myself like around, okay, what is going to get that positive feedback? Like what is going to make me more relevant? What is going to make me more interesting to other people? Like what can I choose to do after graduation that will make me interesting? And that had been really scary. So I want to say at the very end of 2020, another pivotal moment in my life is when I realized, okay, I have to make some changes. I also ended a very long relationship at that point, and I decided I'm going to do something I don't know if I can do, which is move to New York and be unemployed, and then self-employed and get an art studio and just like try to make this work. And I actually signed with a digital marketing agency maybe a couple months after that, and I didn't actually see that coming. It was like, it came in the mail maybe in March, so I took a leap of faith in December to be like, okay, I'm going to like try this full-time thing on my own in New York, and I think here I am. I think it's been a year since I moved to New York, and I wouldn't say that I feel like I have changed so greatly in terms of my YouTube work. I've been putting a lot of my energy into shifting how I balance my work life, because for the longest time, I didn't feel like I had my own life. And now it's actually very scary. I felt like even if I took a bubble bath or I did something really nice, it had to be shared, it had to be known, because my presence like needed to be around, or else like that might put in jeopardy how my future work, or like if I were to launch more collections on my shop, that would like jeopardize the visibility of that. And that was like definitely not the right mindset to have. And finding like enough rest and finding my own life outside of work now has actually been the key thing to realizing, oh, I'm actually showing up to work because I'm choosing it, not because I feel like I can't do anything else, or like I only have this.
Yeah, so with that, we'll open it up to questions if anyone wants to raise their hand and go first. Yeah? Feel free to just go to the nearest microphone. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joel. I go to RISD, so very excited to hear from you today. So super exciting. And on the topic of work and life balance, something that I've been struggling with, you know, when you go to an art and design school, or like more broadly, when you're practicing art and design, kind of what you used to do for fun is now what you do for work. And I've had a really hard time kind of like setting concrete lines as to like now what is work and then now what is life. And I was wondering if you have any advice on like navigating that space and kind of protecting your creative mind.
I definitely am still very much with you in that struggle, but I have actually found some ways to alleviate that pressure of like, wow, what I do for fun is work, so it's no longer fun. And like it's very hard when you're going to school, because literally like you have class 4 to 5 days a week, and then like you have to finish the homework. So now that I'm out of school and have more freedom, I am trying to like make a time where I am doing it for fun, and like I'm telling myself from the very beginning, like I'm spending money on this. For example, if I rented a studio, or I'm having like a 12-week course trying a new art medium, which currently is ceramic. So I'm like, okay, so I'm starting this, and I'm really entertaining where that might go, just my relationship with this medium. Like I'm trying to figure out how I feel about ceramics, for example. And another one of those is oil painting for me. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not allowing myself to say this has to go somewhere or this will go somewhere. It's really important to not post everything right away, even like the WIP, work in progress things. Like I see, and I was definitely one to try to post as much as possible because it validated my productivity. But like again, that doesn't make it fun anymore. So it's like if you can try to allocate time to play. Like that is such an important word, time for play. Like this is something that is fun to me. And no, I'm not going to share this with anybody because it is my own. Or you can share it. You can share it with anybody that you want. But it has to come from like that place of no expectations. And like that's actually not possible at all. Like the expectations of it being successful. I feel like success and failure, it seems like we live in a very binary world when it comes to that. So to just like give time to make a lot of work and to not assign labels, like this is good work, this is bad work, this is mediocre, like this is acceptable, this is unacceptable. I still struggle with that a lot. Like I'm like trying to upkeep a sketchbook just to have like a regular way to almost like basically journal, but in the art sense. And like I can't even doodle without censoring myself because of that. Like, do you see this going anywhere? Do you feel like this can turn into a print that can be sold? Like, do you feel like anyone will care about this? And I think one last quote that I would leave you with is to strive for authenticity and not originality. And that kind of goes in hand with what I had struggled with before, about like feeling like my style or online presence becomes simplified into like what I'm most known for in my digital content. And like to continue striving for authenticity means that you're going to change with the times, and you're literally not going to feel like doing what you might have done for 3 years in the past. And for that to be okay and not to worry, like maybe your voice can seem a little bit, I guess like to relate on a personal note, I always feared if I were to make a lot of artwork about the things I love drawing, like flowers and cats. Like cats are my life. My YouTube channel was Cat Creature for a long time. I just felt like, well, that's so ubiquitous, like cats. Like everyone sees cat merchandise everywhere. Like why do that? And I forget why it's so special to me. Like my cats are my world. And again, that is like caring too much about what others might perceive me as. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that wasn't like crazy confusing. But. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You can go first.
No worries. I'm curious how you find yourself navigating the parasocial relationships that you have with some of your fans or people who might know who you are, and how that's evolved since you started your YouTube channel.
I have to say, well, one, I'm very lucky because everybody that I've met in person give me at least like a very kind, soothing aura. Like I'm very happy to always bump into people. And if anything, it's the other party that always feels a little more uncomfortable because they are nervous to encroach on my life. They're like, oh, I know this is a parasocial relationship. I don't really know how to navigate, but I just want to tell you X, Y, Z. Like I'm so happy to see you right now. And for me, like one thing I like off the bat want to tell them, so this is how I kind of like, it's my textbook way of just greeting anybody. It's like, I want to thank you so much for following along my journey, for caring about what I have to say, and thank you for supporting my work. So I'm so happy to meet you today. And I think through the years, I'm so grateful for my journey on YouTube because I've made really great friendships off of people who had, I guess, spontaneously reached out to me and just thought like, you know, I really feel like I connect with you on this personal level. One person was like, I really think you're from this neighborhood of like East Bay. Are you from there? Because I recognize like the thrift store you went to. Maybe we can hang out. And then after I got coffee with them, it had sustained like a 3-year-long friendship. and I'm gonna visit them in Chicago next month, and like that's something that I have to like remember, that people who watch me are real people, like Kathy. And I was like, I genuinely am open to making friendships, so as long as they don't seem threatening or like sus, which they never do, because people who like genuinely have the heart to like talk to me, I definitely like have that faith and trust. So.
Hello. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about like your business and sort of the logistics of starting that up and how you plan out like all the different products you sell and stuff.
So I definitely baby myself in a way where I tell myself to not go overboard, as in if I'm planning a launch, I like to lay everything out ahead of time, and I definitely start small. So if I were to, for example, like be launching something completely new, like a new product, which I'm actually in the works of currently, I think to myself, like, I am scared. I'm not great at statistics and like predicting things and making charts, so I'm really winging everything, and I'm very intuitive when it comes to what I feel like people will like, and hopefully it's like what I'm interested in. I think there are a lot of people who are interested in it as well. But with that said, when you kind of market your products, a part of it is also convincing them into like, here's my taste, and I think you would really benefit from it, and here's why. So when it comes to like having my online shop and starting, so I house my shop on Shopify, which I really like compared to when I used Squarespace before, for example. And Shopify really encapsulates like every aspect of what I need, which is like email marketing, having like that subscription. And when you start small, they won't charge you for like however many, like tens of thousands emails in the beginning. So I'm like still using that small shop perk, and I have a timeline for myself. Like, this is exactly when I want to launch, and I give myself basically like 2 to 3 months of cushion in case anything is delayed, because it always gets delayed. And to categorize, because like my online store, Pyperbleu.com, I consider more of like a lifestyle shop where I have a bunch of different things. It's like a mishmash of maybe like vintage home goods, handmade crafts, as well as fine art, print reproductions. So I'm like, I would like a balance of everything. So I would just make a whole like brainstorming thing. I like to write. I put pen on paper, so I'm like, here's everything I would like, and then here's a timeline for how I'll satisfy all those products. So because like I work alone, it feels a little bit of a relief to be like, okay, if I'm behind on this, that's fine. No one knows. Like, all I have to do is make up for this on Monday. I'm gonna be watching The Crown all day and like doing this whole like manual labor thing all day long, and to just, I guess, like be flexible with my timing. So I had originally planned for something to launch this month actually, and then I'm pushing it back a couple months. So when I do change my time frames, I just like make it way more relaxed than it really needs to be, so that it either feels like I'm early and I'm like, oh great, I accomplished a lot more, or just to feel like I have so many other lines of work that I'm juggling that like I can't show up for my shop and my business every single day. So just like treat it like a side hustle. Yeah.
Yep. Any hands? Yeah.
Yeah, so you said that you joined a marketing agency. I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that and like that whole process of kind of how you make money besides your small business.
Right. So I have quite a lot of experience when it comes to joining those networks, and I never had a positive experience until this one that I joined last year. And it's basically like a management agency, and a lot of them that we're used to seeing, or like the ones that my favorite YouTubers, they were a part of this one, and you see them like go off on all these fancy parties and stuff. Those management agencies basically take a percentage of everything that they earn on a holistic level. And when I had joined them, I was really hoping that they would give me the platform to have more exposure. And then what I had found as a small creator, so I think at that time, this was like more than 5 years ago, I think my subscriber count was about like 15,000 to like 20,000 at the time. What I basically found out is that they were just taking me for a ride and be like, here, join our network. We're going to take 20% of everything, all of your revenue, and then you can use this music subscription that comes with our partnership. And then I didn't have any FaceTime with any managers or anything at all. And that made me really scared to ever work with anybody after that. So during college, I was mostly navigating any kind of sponsorships all on my own, which meant that I just waited to see if any brands reached out in email, which is like, now that I think about that, for one, influencer marketing has changed so much in the last 5 years, like especially in the last 2 years. It's like a whole new different world now. But I cannot believe that I once just waited for brands to pop up in my email and that I just like replied to all of them myself manually. And I was really bad at that. So a lot of times maybe I would lose an account because I was delayed, like I ignored my email for the weekend, and after that I realized like, oh, I didn't follow up with them, and I'm really bad at that. So it was a relief to be able to sign with No Logos, who I'm with right now, and they reached out, well, in my email, and I saw it, and they were just like, hey, we really have the same, like we feel like our principles align, and they're a smaller startup, and they focus on working with brands with a sustainability angle, which is important to me. So when I had met with them, one thing I was telling them was I'm very wary about just being with any like marketing agencies, because one that I had almost signed with before, they were like, well, we manage you, so everything that you earn on your online store, we would also need like a cut of that because we manage you like on a holistic level. And that just made me like, so I guess like surprised and offended, like what? Like I work as an artist and then yet you're gonna take that as well. So I think to find specifically like what you're looking for, and for me it's just to have the communication between me and brands. And so in my specific agency, they would only take the share of our contract work. So that was like unheard of for me. I didn't know that there was any kind of marketing agency that didn't take a share of like everything that you earn, like even your YouTube revenue, for example. And I have weekly meetings with them, and I think that's definitely like one thing that makes me feel like a real business person. Like, oh, I have Monday morning meetings, and then I keep up with them on Slack. But on the other hand, they are like, because they feel like they emphasize more on like putting creators first and also working with sustainable companies, they also don't feel like they would try to abuse creators in any way either. So yeah, I think my experience with them overall has just been really positive. It's just being like, I don't have to check my emails anymore. Yeah.
Oh, anyone else? Yeah. Oh, we can do that. And
Hi, I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Lo. Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
You talked about how influencer marketing is changing, and one of my exec seminars was actually about influencer marketing. So I wanted to know from your perspective, like how has that changed? And if you identify yourself as like an influencer, which ways do you navigate that new change?
Right. So one of the hats that I feel I wear is definitely influencer, because I'm like, well, I make money because I have this audience who is interested to hear from me, and they trust my judgment that whoever I work with, I feel like, okay, I'm comfortable speaking about them to you. And basically, I'm trying to influence you to buy this, and that's why this brand is paying me to talk about them. And it has just changed a lot, because for one, I find that most brands would never directly talk to creators anymore. Like, they would not handle that. Mostly, I think, for legal protection reasons. They would only speak through an agent. That makes things less accessible, in my opinion, because I feel like in the beginning of my university years, I could actually email maybe some brands that I was passionate with. I would like find their contact us and just ask me like, hi, I'm a creator, here's a link to my channel. If you're ever running campaigns, like let me know. And then they will say, maybe like 20% of the time, they're like, oh, here's the email to our partnerships, like reach out, and that would happen. But then now, it's almost like I don't hear back at all. And the only times I would ever hear from a company is actually through an independent agent that works with companies as almost a recruiter. So I just feel like, wow, it just feels in the back of my mind. I have no experience in the entertainment industry whatsoever, but it just feels more like the entertainment industry now, where it's like you always have to speak through an agent through everything. Like if you want to audition for a commercial or a movie or anything, like you have to have an agent represent you first.
Is that the case even with like micro-influencers, like people that have smaller following?
Just to repeat the question for the audio. Yeah. Oh, I can also say it. Don't worry. The question was, is this the same for like micro-influencers?
I think for micro-influencers, there are new platforms I have found where it's basically like a community for micro-influencers to have like this dashboard, and brands would post, okay, this is what we're looking for, and if you're interested, then like reach out to us, or like they will fill out a survey in a way, and then you have to like put your Instagram and they'll check you out and basically see if like your look is what they want, and then like if your subscriber count is enough for them or your follower count. So for micro-influencers, I feel like they have a harder time finding that agent or like that representation. And I have a few friends who are in that line of like, I want to do this in my part-time. I'm passionate about like making vegan recipes, and that's all I'm trying to do. And I find that like they really love the brand relationship that's basically just like DMing the brands and getting some free merchandise. And my opinion on that is it can be a little bit hurtful when it crosses to the point where a lot of brands find like these emerging micro-influencers that are like kind of steadily growing, like you see that they have so much potential. It is like it displaces the market for like, well, the work that they put out there really deserves pay, but because they don't know better, or like they don't have that experience and they don't have that that agent like trying to negotiate fees, they're like, sure, I want to take anything I can get. And then the brands would just be like, well, we're going to put our like energy and our free merch to these people who can give us free work and like free shout outs. And it's hard though, because I was in that place once as well, even though back then like Instagram DMs wasn't even a thing, but like I think I would have also been in the same place. Like I would take what I can get, but it's almost like, but because you take what you can get, then these brands are really like not wanting to actually pay you forever again in the future. And I have found myself like bamboozled a little bit in those traps a couple of times, where I would give a free shout out for this company that I felt like was great because they had these zero waste initiatives, and like their merchandise was all about sustainability. And then after that, I just kept getting emails from them saying like, hey, would love another free shout out for this. Hey, would love this, would love that. And it's just like this relenting like struggle of, well, like I do want that exposure. And then you realize like later on, it is like 10 times more profitable, or like it will pay off for yourself 10 times more in the future if you like can know your worth from the very beginning. And hopefully like seeing I just like the market is so saturated, so hopefully being a micro-influencer and seeing like other people slowly like make it or like emerge in the market will like make them realize that they do deserve to get paid, even if their follower count isn't what the brand will like be willing to pay for. It's just like you have to start somewhere, and the brands have to realize that.
Did you?
Hi, Annabelle. I think my question sort of like relates to what you were talking about before with like considering like ethics and sustainability in like signing with like a marketing agency, and also talking about just like generally how you connect with like your community. But I was wondering if you had any other thoughts about like how, as you continue to grow as a business and in your own like content, like how you try to maintain a sense of like authenticity and like I guess just staying true to yourself. Yeah.
I think the key way that I try to stay true to myself, or like give myself that accountability as I'm expanding, is like, well, for one, I feel like my conscience just really speaks to me. Like when I'm like constantly procrastinating on something, or I feel like this crazy dread for a project, I start to trace back like my motivations. And if my motivations come from fear or like a lacking mindset, then I realize, okay, this is not being true to myself, and I'm like not really putting out there what I feel like matters to me. And especially when it comes to digital content, like if I'm making videos, if I like don't feel the desire to back up this file or to ever look at it again, it probably means that it doesn't mean anything to me. And like I just know to myself, like it matters so much to me that I put work out there that I can stand behind, and that like in a way it's everybody's legacy. Like when you post something online, it's there forever in a way, and like we're making this online history that people thousands of years from now can look back on, and like I'm this little blip of like I existed. So then like with this precious time of my life, like what do I want to do at that time? And I try to like zoom out big picture. I'm just like, okay, this is my life. It is a blessing to be able to do what I'm passionate about, because not to get too into it, but to feel like my mom, who immigrated from China, and to not have had the same opportunities as me, and like she's so supportive and happy to see me thriving and like paving my own path, like to know that there are many who still don't have that opportunity, it allows me to think, okay, it's a little more freeing to focus on like what is that magic that you want to put out there, like what is it that you love about design that is like staying authentic to me. It's like when you do stuff with such passion and enjoyment, the rest will follow. I think just like how to time manage, how to like stay focused, and I think like with more and more that I bring on, I'm just very careful to tell myself, you don't have to do it all at once. Like, you can have it all, just not at once. That's what I tell myself. So there's a lot of business endeavors that I tell myself, if I am so lucky to live until I'm, obviously I want to live until I'm actually past 100, but I'm like, I want to start this project in my 50s. I want to start this project in my late 40s, and that's what I'm telling myself now. So I'm taking care of my body, I'm trying to sleep well and like take care of my mental health. So I put things off like that, but I don't consider it the same kind of procrastination or saying, oh, I'll do it later, I can do it, I'll always have time for that, because I'm telling myself, like, I want to do this when I'm more prepared, like with a few more decades. And I'm in my early 20s right now, and I've mentally assigned that as a time for experimenting and collecting data of like not knowing what the hell I want or like what the hell I'm really doing. And hopefully by the time I'm 10 years older, I will have a little more, I'm more ready to dig roots down. And then 10 years after that, I will start maybe getting a brick and mortar and having like a business that I will have to attend to and like not have any freedom or flexibility to travel for like 8+ years. So staying authentic, I think overall, to sum up, is just knowing like what makes me happy and passionate, and like carefully balancing that with what I know. Like I have to care about what people think about me, but to care, even if it's just a little bit more, care about your opinion first. So, yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Follow up.
Yeah, I really appreciate like that sense of intentionality, and I was wondering like, so you mentioned like your parents and like there was influences from like the people around you, but where would you say like that's like drive for intention really comes from, like if there is another source in like your life that you'd identify?
Well, you gave me something I would love to like cook on, because I feel like if I'm quickly reflecting right now, I've always had this desire to put myself out there ever since I was in middle school or even earlier. I think it's just like some part of me that was extremely interested in doing something, and I joked to my mom, I was like, I want to be the Asian Martha Stewart. Like, I want to do all of these things. I want to, like, transform different aspects of your life into something colorful and wonderful. And I could give a quick guess to just growing up in, like, a broken home and having really, like, art to ground me at that time. So, like, a little more about me is, ever since I was in 3rd grade, I went to this weekly art studio, and my sister got to go for free because they accepted half tuition basically. So because my mom was a single mom for a while, like art really felt like this tool that helped me survive and help me like find myself, and like it gave me not like a way out, but it gave me like, it was really like a hope at the end of the tunnel. I knew in 7th grade that I wanted to go to art school. It was like already decided. And from then, like I feel like it shaped my whole trajectory throughout high school. Like this is where I want to go. And at the time I thought I want to be a fashion designer. That's where I'm going to go. But like I had that trajectory of like, okay, art is everything to me. Like I really want to transform the world around me into one that I feel like is so beautiful, and like the whole like visual pleasure is like so evident to me of like why like a room will light up, because the intentional design is there. Like that had made me more conscious of like how I can now be the provider for others. Like here is a soothing vlog, like a video. I'm like sensationalizing and romanticizing like a trip to the grocery store, because I see like the beauty in this little moment. And I love how this shopping cart looks right here in front of this row of canned mangoes, and it's like that is like the essence of life. Like I love being able to see, and I love being able to see in color, and I just want to like put that out there, and people respond to that, and like I don't know, I still have to find out like what is that intentionality. But I think it's very much like, because a lot of my early childhood years were like such low lows that like when it came to art, it just felt like everything. Yeah.
And then I know there's a question there, and this will probably be our last question, and we can do some very quick rapid fire ones afterwards. So get thinking on them.
Yeah. I'll also be more rapid fire in my answering.
Hi, my name's Deanna. You said you were from East Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm from South Bay, so I was kind of.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I'm from San Jose. But my question, you kind of already answered this, but I was gonna ask like if you had any specific like influences yourself, or like mentors, like whether it's like from like where you grew up, or like along the way on like your career path, like if there's anyone like kind of guiding you, or like that you were influenced by before you became an influencer. So yeah, I was just wondering if you had any.
Well, people who really guided me were definitely my teachers. So the teacher that I went every week to, who helped me prepare my portfolio, like my art studio teacher, and also my math tutor. I hated math. I was forced to go, but having that stable figure in my life that I would see weekly, they definitely gave me a lot of that like that parental figure support. But in terms of like creative influencing or like mentorship, I actually don't really feel like I have one. Like I really feel supported in the community and like peers that I meet and the mutuals I meet off Instagram. And that's kind of just like, it feels like we're all scared and we're all holding hands together and just like going through the dark. Yeah.
Okay, now on to the rapid fire questions. Yeah, you can go after.
I'm gonna lift this up because I'm tall. I'm actually from Berkeley.
Oh my God.
Okay. Where are you from?
So I actually lived for a long time in Cupertino, so South Bay, and then I moved to like around Pleasanton. I feel like most people know Pleasanton. Yeah, so yeah, I'm from there.
How did it influence your art in any sort of way, or who you are as a person?
Hard to say because I feel like it didn't really influence me, like my environment there. Tumblr really influenced me when I was in high school. So the internet, I was like that kid in my room every day, looking at Tumblr and drawing in my sketchbook, listening to Adele. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a question there.
Oh, I was just snapping.
Oh no, behind you. No, you're good.
This might not be rapid fire. I could ask it later if you want me to, or is now okay?
It's okay, you can just do it now.
Okay, yeah. So for context, a friend of mine started a startup and I helped him kind of build this, but where we connect mid-sized YouTubers to kind of like brands where they can do like consulting for them as like a side gig. And I was curious, what are some opportunities or resources you wish that you have as a YouTuber? And I know you kind of talked about like marketing agencies kind of like being abusive to YouTubers. So what are you guys kind of doing within the community to stand against it? Anyways, people can kind of support, yeah.
Right, I think one thing that I wish I had more of is just like that community, because when I hang out with other just other YouTubers or content creators always feel so nice to be understood. And I know that YouTube has certain like hubs where they have these shared co-working spaces in like big cities, but I never actually attended any of those, and I don't have that very much, so I feel very isolated. And I just feel like if I can have that place where it feels like a co-working space where there are other digital content creators where you can just like be around them and bounce ideas off each other, almost like when you're in college and you're working in that shared studio, and like being in that environment is so nice. Yeah.
Any other rapid fire questions? Yeah.
I'm just wondering, what space environment inspires you the most?
What space and environment? Well, one that comes to my mind right away is nature, traveling and seeing new things to absorb into, and meeting other artists and being in their space, and experiencing like, wow, the joy that I have from seeing your work or like reading your book. I really, truly hope that I can capture that same essence when people see my work or like when they read my poetry. It's not really any one place that like gives me the most inspiration, but it's like just being around other creative people and then nature. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have two, and then we can basically wrap it up, and feel free to talk to her afterwards. But the first one was like, I know you like to thrift a lot. What are some of your favorite shops in New York City to look at?
Okay, so one that comes off top of my head is Beacon's Closet. I still wear my denim jacket that I got there in 2015. That was like my best find. I found Doc Martens there. Beacon's Closet is really cool. Other than that, I actually don't thrift a lot nowadays because I'm trying to like, well, first of all, ever since I moved to New York, my closet is like this big, so I realized I cannot buy anything, so I don't actually know a lot of awesome thrift stores other than Beacon's Closet because I went there when I went to pre-college in New York.
Yeah, and then the second one I had was like a funny cat story of recent or ever.
Okay, first one that comes to my mind is my cat Bambi locked himself in my room. So I remember like he jumped off to my table because he would puke if he eats too quickly, and I'm trying to work on that. One of my ceramics projects is to make a slow feeder that is like very functional and beautiful. So he jumped up to the counter because the rest of his food was on there, and I was like, oh my God, Bambi, you have to learn. No. So like you're not gonna eat until Prairie is done eating. You're gonna be in the bedroom, and then like 20 minutes later after Prairie is done, I'm like, okay, Bambi, I feel really bad. You can come out and eat now. Like the door was locked, and I was like, wait, hold on, is this real? And then I like took one of those like needle tools to try to like put it into the hole, and then it wasn't working, and I started really freaking out. And then I called my super, and he was like, try putting like a needle into the hole. And I was like, thanks, yes, I've been trying to do that for 28 minutes, but okay, I'll do it now. And then it worked. Like on the phone with him after I was like hyperventilating, and then like Bambi just like walked out. He was like, hey, what's up? So that's a funny cat story.
Yeah, so we still have 5 minutes, so anyone has any last questions? Or we could listen to more cat stories. Oh, one there.
I was wondering, like, what advice would you give an aspiring content creator, especially one who wants to create content for like a business?
Okay, let me see. I have a lot of advice, so I'm going to start off with, I think, try to make your system really sustainable, because it can get easy when you work on your own time to be like, I really want to finish this, so I'm just going to not eat dinner and work until 5 a.m. Right. But to compartmentalize like your day. But other than that, let me think, like, when you're an aspiring content creator, I feel like one thing I would have wished to tell myself is just like keep going, because it can really feel like you don't know if it's ever going to pay off. And one thing I can reflect upon is that my work has not felt any more meaningful to me because I have like a bigger audience now to receive it. Sometimes I realize like, wow, I was a lot more excited about my projects and a lot more creative when I only got 20 views. Right. And then now that like I know there's going to be this many views, there is like the whole, I gotta always like be better than the last time, or like I gotta like.
As opposed to being creative
yeah, just like trying something completely new because it's important to you. And like that's something I really wish I could do too. Just like do something because you're curious and like you really want to see where it goes. Not because you're like, well, I have an audience and I have these expectations to meet up to, because then like the passion is like literally fizzles away.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, so, oh, one more.
Hi, my name is Janelle. Thank you so much for speaking today. I've seen a lot of your content online and it's very inspiring. My question for you is, how, if at all, has your identity as an Asian American shaped your experience in media, if at all?
How has it shaped my experience in media, right?
Or media and also just content creation.
Okay. That's something that I've also been realizing so much in the last year, that like I think a lot of my lack of confidence came with my feeling very displaced as an Asian American, even though I grew up in a pretty diverse and Asian area in the Bay Area in California. There's always a part of me that felt subpar or like you're never gonna be good enough kind of way. And I think that like had I kind of like grown past those feelings earlier, I would have been more just confident to feel like I am deserving of like work, or like, as in, for example, if a company reached out to me because they wanted me to be like talent in one of their like projects, so not actually making vlogs for my channel, but I would just be featured as somebody for a series of videos they're doing. I like one of the times I got that email, I literally like responded to them saying like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't feel qualified. Like I just felt like lesser for some reason, because I think like a part of me always felt like why would my identity matter as much when like growing up, I love watching TV shows and movies. That's something I'm very interested in, and like I don't really see anyone that looks like me. And like I had really internalized that to make me feel like I'm not as important, because I just like don't see any representation. And that's been really hard, and like it feels so emotional now to see more of that representation in the last couple of years, that like it's really sad, but I do feel more empowered and beautiful, like because I have like grown into that of like, yeah, like I deserve that. I'm taking up space. And because of that, I think like it just gives me that like permission. It's like a self-granted permission, but also like on a societal level, it's like, well, we have that permission to like to thrive and put ourselves out there. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you also for being that kind of representation for others.
Yeah, thank you so much for supporting my work.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for asking amazing questions, and thank you Annabelle for being here. At this time, we're probably going to wrap up this workshop Q&A session, but feel free to talk to her after. And yeah, I'll look forward to seeing you in like 15 minutes.